I can take you to the United Kingdom, but it's a matter that affects the Ghana High Commission there, because the Ghana High Commission in London owes city authorities over £5 million sterling in congestion charges. The congestion charge is a road toll that is paid by diplomats who drive through a certain square mile of the City of London. Despite communication from the UK government that a congestion charge is a service fee and not a tax, several embassies in London continue to amass significant debt totaling millions of pounds sterling. Leading the list is the American Embassy with an outstanding debt of £14.6 million. It is followed by the Embassy of Japan and India, owing £10.1 million and £8.6 million respectively. On your screen now are further details as we have it, the embassies and how much they owe from the United States Embassy. It goes all the way to India, Japan, China, and Ghana is in there, owing the UK authorities or the City of London £5 million sterling. And this has been a 20-year period of, driving through some areas designated as, congestion areas and refusing to pay the congestion charge. Well, the UK authorities are actively seeking to recover these fees and related penalties, even considering escalating the issue to the International Court of Justice. But should we be worried in view of what is happening? International relations expert Dr. Ishmael Holobo says there is no cause for alarm as of now.
There is no cause for worry because Ghana-UK relations are quite stable and strong. And of course, disagreements are normal part of diplomatic relations. So they may want to put certain pressures on you to pay. But at the end of the day, they themselves have taken the option of going to the international court. So that is even better, so that they, when they get there, the issue can be resolved peacefully. So I don't think that there is any implication for our relation with the UK. Countries will always have disagreement as to some of these issues, and they will have to settle it either diplomatically or through the international institutions as we have them. So you don't get worried because they threaten to go to the international court. Well, what it means is that then you have the chance to present your case as to why you think it is not a service charge, that it is a tax. And in this case, they are not going to send Ghana alone to the court. They are going to send all these other countries, and then the court will have to determine if this is a service charge that diplomats are supposed to pay, or it falls under the tax exemptions that the various countries grant diplomats under the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations.
Let me bring in Dr. Nuhu Idana. He is an assistant professor in law at the School of Law, SOAS, University of London. Nuhu convenes and teaches contract law and commercial law in a global context. He also teaches on the transnational law, finance and technology at the postgraduate level. Nuhu, good afternoon, welcome to the pod. So, is this a matter that should be of concern to Ghanaians? £5 million over 20 years, Ghana Embassy refusing to pay, and so are other, Ghana Embassy refusing to pay, and so are other embassies. And the city described them as a stubborn minority.
Thank you so much for getting in touch with me. And indeed, going straight to, and thank you to your listeners too as well. Going straight to the question you've just posed, considering the letter that they've issued, I'm sure you are well aware that the US Embassy also came out with their rebuttal, indicating clearly that they consider the congestion charges to be tax, of which they are exempted based on the international law requirements. And if you go and look at the Vienna Convention on International Relations, you will come to appreciate that if it has to do with tax or other dues, that are charged either regionally or the municipal level, or at the regional level, diplomatic categories of persons are exempted from paying that, with the exception of services. If that is, if they provide services, then that one they are supposed to pay. So, and this is being disputed. But the question is, what is not known to us is that as to whether the Transport for London have been able to reach out to the various embassies to actually confirm, or high commissions to confirm or to actually demand the payment. I think from the earlier interaction, it seems they haven't been contacted.
Right.
So until they actually reach out to them and they are able to actually respond to them, I mean, they'll be able to look at it and then respond appropriately. It is based on that they can even think about, even if they reach a deadlock, that is when they can consider the option of going to court. But until that is exhausted, I don't think it is the time is right for them to consider. To be considering going to the international court to compel the various embassies, including Ghana, to pay the money. So I'm in support of the earlier submission made by Samuel that, there's no cause for worry for now. It is normal in within the legal terrain for someone to issue a threat that if you don't actually pay this debt that I claim you owe, then I will go to court. And that is really normal. And so until they reach a deadlock, I don't think there'll be any legal action against the High Commission of Ghana in the UK.
So educators, so this is policy by the City of London authorities. This is not
exactly.
this is not the UK government program. Is that not the case?
That is exactly. So the policy was introduced in 2003 to actually, and indeed there was an earlier. An earlier data demonstrate that Singapore introduced that in 1975 thereabout.
Right. But
their system was slightly different from what has been introduced by the UK, City of London or the London Baron, and they introduced it to actually reduce. There were reasons that actually accounted for the introduction of the congestion charges. So just to minimize the number of traffic within the City of London. And that has been extended to other confines. So if you are driving into the congested area, the defined zone, then you have to pay, for example, any individual coming in will have to pay an amount of £15 for a day for just driving in. If you go out and you're coming back again, you have to pay that amount again. But there are some category of vehicles that are exempted from paying this particular amount of money. So diplomats also, because most of the embassies are located within the congestion zone.
Exactly.
That is why the City of London is demanding that they pay that amount of money as well. So, and what seems to be available is that I think since 2003 to date, it's like Ghana, the US, and the other countries that are alleged to be indebted hugely have not been paying that amount of money. But interestingly, what is very interesting is that Denmark and some other countries seem to have fulfilled their obligation of paying that amount. Have paid that amount of money. And you see that Togo is listed as a least owing country with only £40, implying that some of them are aware. So, but as to whether Transport for London, reach out to these embassies and they did their payment is what we are not aware of. And whether they reach out to them and what happened. Is it that they've not reached out to the Ghana High Commission and then the US Embassy and the various other high commissions in there? If they have not, what has caused that? If they did, what has prompted the silence all this while for them to actually resist that by making it clear that this is a tax, but not, this is a tax or dues of which they are exempted from. But if they had made that, I'm sure this would have been resolved earlier.
All right.
Without we actually reaching this level.
But again, if you look at the embassies that have paid and those that have not paid, is it a case that there is some kind of bilateral relations between these embassies and the United Kingdom such that they find it obligatory to pay? Because in Ghana, for example, before we discarded the idea of road tolls, embassies operating in Ghana were exempted from paying road tolls. Perhaps that is the same understanding the Ghana embassy in the UK has also adopted to say that, yes.
Yeah, precisely. So that is why the US reaction is that they are exempted from paying dues or tax as far as international law requirements are concerned. So if you look at it from that angle, I would have wished that this conversation had been brought up, and it was brought up long ago when they implemented that policy, so that those, discussions would have actually occurred. But again, once an issue arises, a solution will be found for it. And I expect that they write officially to the various embassies concerned, high commissions concerned, including Ghana High Commission, so that based on that, they will be able to actually properly respond to them. If they respond, and I think some kind of negotiation will have to go in if we have to pay that. But looking at the law provision itself, it seems very clear that this is going to be inconsistent with the International Convention requirement, which says that once a service that the person is running, unless it's service, but this one appears to be tax you are paying,
right,
or dues you are paying for driving into the congestion area. If it is so, indeed, they are not supposed to pay. But then the question will be, what about those countries that have complied and they paid? So in that context, if it is contested, particularly given that a reaction has already been issued by the U.S. Embassy, I would expect that the other embassies also follow suit by actually responding to it, or probably wait patiently to get a written, a request from the Transport for London, and they could respond appropriately. And based on that, if they reach a point where payment will be required, then they will be able to actually see that some negotiation goes in to ensure that the time frame is allowed for payment. But I suspect that looking at the law itself, they may have to give it a test. They may have to test the law if it has not been tested before, to actually see whether that aspect constitute tax or dues that the U.S. Embassy actually raises, which I think to side with them.
And that's the question I was coming to, whether you support the idea that International Court of Justice will bring finality to this matter.
Yes, so before even the International Court of Justice comes in, I think what needs to be done is the initial engagement by the parties. But as it speaks now, it appears there hasn't been that engagement yet. So what Transport for London needs to do is to write officially to the various high...
Right. Connection issues there to Nuhu Idana, Associate Law Lecturer in the UK. Educating us on this matter that is in the United Kingdom, and it's about the Ghana and other embassies like the United States owing the UK government for driving through congestion areas and refusing to pay the congestion charge. And that's what we're trying to get his understanding of it and to find out more as we progress on this particular matter. But again, the news is that Ghana owes £5 million, and this is for a 20-year period. And then the U.S. Embassy is leading the pack with over £14 million, followed by there's Japan, there's China, and then Ghana is in there. The least country, the least owing country is actually Togo. That's about £40. And of course, that's what we've been discussing. But he says that it doesn't give any cause for worry. The City of London, they've indicated they may go to the International Court of Justice to bring finality to this matter. And we'll follow this up for you. Now, let's move to some other stories. And mom's guilt is a pervasive feeling that many new mothers experience, and it can be exacerbated by insufficient maternity leave. Health professionals say policies that support extended and paid maternity leave are essential for the mental health and well-being of new mothers. This, they believe, will reduce the rate of which new mothers fall into depression after childbirth. And Joy News documentary will bring that documentary to you shortly. But let me conclude this discussion with Dr. Nuhu Idana. So, Doctor, we are talking about finality being brought on this matter by the International Court of Justice. And I'm also interested in the tone of the language used in that statement, if you like, from the City of London, where they describe those who have refused to pay as, stubborn minority. Diplomatically, is it right?
Actually, when I saw that that description, I think I was a bit surprised to have read that too. I think it's good to communicate properly well, and particularly when you are dealing with other, co-equal, person like the various high commission representing various, independent countries,
right,
including Ghana and the US and what. So, to have used that term, I think it was really not up to that, particularly when the other countries are appearing, or the other embassies are appearing, that they are unaware of even the set alleged amount of money that they owe the Transport for London. So they could have used they could have used another way to describe that instead of saying stubborn minority.
But we shouldn't be worried as a country.
Well, for now, as I said, unless the engagement is completed, so what happened is that I will require that, I will expect the Transport for London to write to the various high commissions and demand that they pay, and based on that, they will also respond appropriately. Now, I think what seems to be the case, I mean, I'm not sure they've written to them, because it's like the Ghana Embassy, the Ghana High Commission appear not to have been written to, so I expect that they will write to them. Alternatively, given the publicity that has, I mean, their public message that has been circulating, probably I will think that Ghana Embassy need to just remain calm and probably reach out to them, or if Transport for London reach out to them, because the Transport for London cannot go to court until they actually reach a deadlock with the various high commissions.
All right.
So the other option they could do is to reach out to each other and then take a unanimous decision to write officially to them or complain to the government, to the UK government, about such a letter, and then they could begin the negotiation and we'll see what happened then.
All right,
but for now, I don't think we should be worried, because it's not only Ghana that is involved. A number of countries are involved in this context. So until that diplomatic engagement is done and reach a conclusion and there's a deadlock, that is when we can then be considering going to court, or Transport for London considering going to court, and we will respond appropriately. All
right, thank you very much, Doctor, for your time this afternoon. Dr. Nuhu Yidana is Associate Professor of Law in the UK. And we'll follow up on this matter and to bring you the very latest on this issue. But the bottom line is that we shouldn't be worried, because the matter is still being, litigated.